Welcome to Shooting Spaces, a real estate and other type of photography podcast. This is Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
Brian Berkowitz here from New York. We're back at it, Rich. What's going on? All's well?
Not much. Just got out of a long drive, and I'm glad I made it. Not that I wouldn't, but good to be busy. And I've been really busy now. It was a little slow, and it's gotten better. And it's doing great. How you doing?
Preparing for your sabbatical down south?
Yeah. Looking forward to a little time off, but I got a little medical thing going on. I'm gonna have a new shoulder put in Friday, so I'll be recouping and down in Mexico in November.
This is like your fourth or fifth artificial limb that you've had put on since we've had this podcast.
Only had my knee done, and that went so well. I said, hell, I'm going to get my shoulder done. So I can hopefully keep doing the sports I want without pain. Even holding up lights, I hand hold my light in my left arm, and it just kills me at the end of the shoot. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it, and you'll be there at some time, So take care of yourself.
I hope not. Cool.
So what do we got going on today?
Yeah. So before we introduce our two guests and quickly go over what we're going to talk about today, let's hear our opening words from our sponsor, HD Photo Hub.
HD Photo Hub is the complete solution for any photography business that needs a professional white label platform that automates payment collection, scheduling, and photo delivery, all without monthly contracts or fees. HD Photo Hub is all about your business and your brand. They don't put their logo on any of your order forms or sites, and they even integrate with the email services and automation tools you are already using today. Hey, they even have live customer support to help you get started. Visit hdphotohub.com and sign up for a free one-on-one demo or live webinar to learn more.
All right. Thank you, HD Photo Hub. And let's get right into it. So the topic of the day, we're going to kind of discuss the evolution of real estate photography. And Dan, how long? Well, let me introduce you. First, we have with us Dan Milstein, right? I always say it wrong. I used to say Milstein, but after you publicly corrected me on the first, were you on the podcast once or twice before? I don't even remember.
I think just once.
Just once. So Dan Milstein, and you're not too far from me. We're probably, like an hour from each other, give or take, depending on traffic.
I was going to say that.
If I left now at 9 p.m., I'd probably be by you in 45 minutes. But on a normal New York City day, it's maybe 2 hours. But so Dan, you've been on before. You want to say a quick 20-second pitch about what you do and where you're at and where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. I stumbled into this business 15 years ago in 2008. Started doing aerial work and helicopters, brought in drones, 11 years ago. I've been shooting luxury property ever since. You name it, if they live around here, I probably shot their property. And I'd love to take credit for it. It's all my clients, but they bring me in, so.
Awesome. Thank you. And we also have with us Cheyenne Crawford, and you're out of Atlanta, right? Or that area?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And you want to give the same little 20-second pitch, tell people what you do. How long have you been in the industry? A lot less than.
Just about 3 years now, full time. So I started in 2020, took a few months to get it off the ground, just photos. I've since gravitated into doing a lot of video, a lot of branding, drone work, just everything that our agents need, I try to do. I even do some events.
Awesome. And that's that kind of stuff, Dan, you mentioned it also with the drone and everything else. It's going to be a good conversation for how real estate photography evolved from when you started, or even Rich started. Rich, when did you start? Around that same time? Early 2000s?
I think I started in 2009. It's kind of delving into that shooting real estate. Or PFRE. I remember that.
That was when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. Yeah, I remember it.
All right, cool. And Cheyenne, I might as well give you a plug, but you are going to be a presenter at PMRE this year in Vegas. So that's pretty exciting news.
I'm so excited.
All right, awesome. And your topic is going to be, what's the name of your topic?
What realtors actually want and what they're willing to pay top dollar for.
All right. So Dan, if you want to know what the realtors want.
I was just thinking, I have no idea. I'm attending, so I'm going to have to pay attention.
You're going to be in Vegas?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, awesome. Cool. So I guess we can start with, Rich, you and Dan sort of started around the same time, within a year or so of each other. I started in this industry in 2013 was my first spaces shoot. And then which was actually an interior design shoot, and I ended up shooting real estate later that year. So I'm a couple of years behind you, but Dan, when you started, and same thing for Rich, I mean, you were just doing photography at that point, I'm assuming, right?
No, it was go out, shoot, come back, Photoshop. Wasn't even using Lightroom at the time. Maybe 15 shots. That was the whole package.
But what were you shooting before, Dan? What were you shooting before 2009? Were you a photographer before 2009?
Ducks in a park. No, my father stuck a camera in my hand when I was 2. I actually have since stolen that camera. It was 1970 or 1971 Nikon F. It's mine, baby. But no, it's just, I'd walk around with him. We'd go over composition. He was the black sheep in the family. He decided to go to medical school instead of setting up a darkroom. But he did pass. But
you weren't a professional photographer?
No, I mean, I'd shoot an event here and there for a friend, but that was it.
Mm-hmm. What did you do before 2009 for a living? I assume you were making a living.
I was making a living. I was a global director of customer service for a business-to-business internet company. So I think my job was just to get frequent flyer miles.
How did you fall upon real estate photography? Because that's a strange genre of photography to fall into. Most people, it's portraits, weddings, that type of deal.
So I left the company because the internet sector was, well, I think tanking would be the kind way to say it. And I stumbled around for a while. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I consulted for my old CEO. And he said, listen, I've got a project for you. And one of the things that I sort of needed to do was document a couple of spaces. And the moment I started doing it, I said, all right, B&H is a 5-minute walk from here. So bitten by the bug, both gear acquisition syndrome and actually shooting interiors at the same time. And I had no idea what I was doing. It wasn't until, I guess, late 2008, after I'd actually launched the business, that I said, all right, maybe I should actually figure out how this is done. And I started, back then, do you remember Jeremy Esland, Rich?
No.
In Portugal. He was an American expat in Portugal. All sorts of stories we made up about him. I'm sure none of them are true. But Jeremy started giving me technical advice, and Scott Hargis was, looking at the EXIF data when we used to share it on our photos back in the Flickr group days. And he said, hey, listen, if you make these changes, it'll work a little easier for you. I did, and that was it. I never looked back. Within a few months, I'd say I got to maybe 65, 70% of where I am now. And I spent the last 14 years trying to just get that last little bit. Never ends, though. But yeah, it was just a stumble. I had no idea I was going to end up here.
Yeah, for me, I got out of the movie industry, and after 30 plus years, and I was trying to get a job, and it was amazing because I left LA, and I had started having kids and this and that, and I just started back into photography since when I was a kid. And I realized I had to shoot everything I could to make a living. So I got really good at, pretty good at weddings, at sports, at running races, all these things. And all of a sudden I started really enjoying shooting spaces. And I did it, and it was terrible. And I was actually sponsored by Photomatics, which HDR, I mean, that was what we were doing.
Wow.
And then I came across
you say that proudly.
What, that it was crappy?
No, that you were sponsored by Photomatics.
Well, no, I'm amazed. I'm amazed looking back at that stuff. They would even, it was really just crazy looking, colorful HDR.
Well, right around that time, though, if you remember, what was 2008 and 9? That's when like that whole Trey Ratcliffe and Stuck in Customs. You know what I'm talking about, Dan?
Yeah.
Trey Ratcliffe and Stuck in Customs, and the whole HDR revolution, kind of not necessarily just for real estate photography, but in general for fine art and landscape. Just it blew up, and he was like the hottest thing.
It was going to be the second coming of Jesus because you don't need lights. And a friend of mine still gives me a hard time. But when you mentioned Scott Hargis, it was like Scott was doing it all in camera, and I was had the bug. I went to his workshop. I was starting to do it, and I couldn't get it. I just couldn't do it good enough. I didn't have enough time. I wasn't a good enough photographer. And we were running like 6, 7, 8 flashes, speed lights on cheap cheap tripods, plastic tripods. And then I saw the light, and someone showed me how to mask in. His name will remain nameless, but he was one of the guys that started doing the masking. And then it just took off from there. I just got lucky, met a whole bunch of really good clients, and that's where it started for me.
I remember that moment. I started with, what was it? The Paul Buff. Oh, it's Alien Bees. Oh God. A couple of the 800s and the, what was it? The mini lithium vagabond or whatever it was. It was upstairs. I was using it maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. But
for normal people, what that was is the Vagabond was a portable battery, which was fucking huge.
No, the mini lithium, the one that's the size of.
I don't think I could afford that one, Dan.
Maybe a little larger than that. No, it was fantastic. And then I put all of them in my basement and picked up a pile of SB80s, and my life changed.
SB80s.
I just sold 2 SB80s last week. Believe it or not.
Remember we used to
for like $20
down on eBay?
Yeah, for like $20
down, and with Pocket Wizards.
$40. Yeah,
that was the big thing. Pocket. Yeah, anyone need Pocket Wizards? Got a pile of them, 50 cents a piece. Pay for shipping, get them out of my house.
$250 for the Pocket Wizard. It was like crazy.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. But you had to have a pile of them and a pile of stands, and I could not go the cheap tripod route. Go to Walmart and picking up something that was plastic and was gonna, I don't know, take a dive with that SB80 on it didn't work. But Rich, you said, that moment you saw the light. By the way, bad pun, terrible. Don't do it again.
Okay.
You saw the light and you started masking. I still remember there's a waterfront shoot I was doing in Guilford, Connecticut. And for the life of me, I could not get the light right. And I said, well, wait a minute. If I blend it this way and just overlight the window frames, I can just use darker color blending for the layer and just drop it right in. And that was it. I made a huge amount of work for myself because I was able to do, another entire shoot during the day. And then I was up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, got up at 6 and started all over again. Cause what did I know? But man, that was a fantastic trip. And then once
it was such a fun time. And then Peter Lyon, I'm driving my car home and I'm on the phone with Peter Lyon in San Francisco. And Peter's telling me about this thing called darken mode. I think he learned it from Wayne. I'm pulling into my garage. The garage opens up. I pull in and I'm talking to Peter, and he starts telling me about this darken mode, and it clicks, and I'm like, "Holy F! Are you kidding? Oh, I get it. And I'm like, had to run inside and try it in a bedroom, and it was so exciting. And that was the biggest thing ever for me. It was so much fun. It was really, really fun.
Brian, how are you keeping a straight face with that?
I'm just thinking how nerdy we all are that we get excited over this this junk.
So excited.
Guilty as charged.
Hey, look. So Cheyenne, how did you get into this? Because you're fairly new at this. You're 3 years removed, and you're obviously significantly younger than, especially the other two, but me as well. So let's hear a little bit of your backstory and how you fell into real estate photography.
Well, like it seems a lot of the industry is. I fell into it myself. I never, ever thought I would be a creative for a living. I went to engineering school. Like growing up, it was doctor, lawyer, engineer. Like that's it. That's all you get to choose. But all the time I was just trying to, I got my first camera when I was 13. This is my mom's old camera right here behind me in the background, Canon AE1. So I grew up with her always pulling out the photo albums, and that was where the magic really started for me. So I always loved photography. I had it as a side hustle kind of in high school, shooting senior portraits and prom photos, all that good stuff. But I went to engineering school and hated it. It was miserable. So I was doing the same old college thing, like baristing, bartending, all that good stuff. And then lockdown happened and suddenly I was out of a job. Just so happens to be that my future mother-in-law, my fiance's mom, has been in real estate photography for like 15 years. And I was always fascinated with what she did. And during 2020, I picked up my love for photography again. And she was like, hey, like, you seem like you like this. Would you be interested in learning how to shoot real estate? And immediately it was yes. She probably gave me 3 or 4 appointments with some overflow clients that she had, and I took to it immediately. I was like, this is for me. I love this. I love houses. I love photography. You can make money doing this. No way. And funny story, actually. So my future mother-in-law, her name is Kate, actually called up Rich some years back. I don't know if you remember me telling you this last year at PMRE, because she's a huge fan of Rich's YouTube videos. So she was watching those and learning from him, and he was nice enough to take her call. And last year she wanted me to thank you for that, for taking the time to actually teach her. So
my pleasure.
It's a small world. It's a small community too.
You want to give out your number publicly so other people can call Rich?
You really don't have to look very far.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, I do. I'm always been happy to give back. Like Dan, man, I used to call you up. I remember way back, and you took
Pay
my
it forward.
calls. Yeah.
I don't know why you were calling me. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. You'd call me. I'd call Scott. I don't know who Scott called.
He called Thomas
Oh yeah,
Gruba.
with the
Anyway.
flash in the back pocket.
Yeah. But Cheyenne, I think that's great. And, I think that's such a big part of being at the right place. For me, it was all being at the right place at the right time and just being enthralled with, shooting spaces. Really, that just caught me. The weddings are great. Sports are great. Everything's great. But the buildings are just the best. And I'm so happy I could help your future mother-in-law. So.
Do you still work with her?
So we are like partners, but we don't like combine billing or anything. We both have pretty much separate businesses now. And that woman is a saint. Like, she's never taken a dime from me. And I've just kind of gone in a totally different direction because she's been doing it for a long time and she has her small suburban geographic area. And then I cover the big city. So I used to live in Atlanta proper, is what we call it, inside the perimeter here. So I know all of that, but the traffic is absolutely chaotic in there. So she doesn't like to go in. Whereas I was like, this is my stomping grounds. So I started picking up a lot of clients in a separate geographic area, and then just word of mouth spread. And now we both have a pretty broad client base.
So did you have the boy? I assume you had the boyfriend first.
I did.
Or did you have the mother-in-law first, and then you met her son? No. Okay, you met okay. Good.
She is a mother-in-law that I would choose for myself, though.
And when is the wedding?
I don't know.
Oh God.
I'm not in any hurry.
Yeah.
My parents were together for 25 years before they ever got married. So they had 2 grown children. It was really cute. Like 3 years ago, my dad calls me up and he's like, well, your mom finally agreed to marry me after asking her for 25 years. We're going to the courthouse tomorrow. And I was like, oh, that's cute. So weddings are expensive. I've got a business to build and run. I'm not interested in spending $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a wedding right now.
So Dan, let me ask you, because you're known for shooting really tremendous places. I can only imagine you at one time shot pieces of crap, as we all have.
I still do.
Time to time. Still do.
I did today. I sent you that, Rich, earlier today. Because
I want to see that. Didn't look like a piece of crap on the outside, so I have to see the inside.
I shot my first residential real estate listing in like 3 months today, and it was a hoarder house, and it was I walked out of there and was like, I need to go shower.
Feel so happy. Yeah,
and I walked out, and I'm like, this is why I don't do this anymore. And then I said to Rich, I sent him a picture. I'm like, see, I still shoot shitty real estate every so often.
Probably the worst one I ever did. I left with fleas jumping off my ankles.
Oh,
It was a condemned house. I was like, I don't even know if I feel safe walking on the floor in here. Thankfully, I send my shooter to do those now.
Well, I didn't even know.
Last year, one of my best agents sent me. I mean, we do big stuff. She does stuff every so often, and I shot it. And the biggest clone job I had to do was about 6 or 7 photos. There was a crime scene out the window, and I had to Photoshop it out and not make it look too fake because of the legality. So anyway, that's just.
I enjoy when the septic truck shows up out the big picture window in the front of the house, and he said, "You know what? We're going to wait till the sun comes around just a little bit more." Yeah, the sun comes around along with that big stinking thing. It's fantastic. We've had shoots waterfront shoots where it's just dumb luck. We get the drone in the air, we get the shots, and 5 minutes after we finish and we're inside, we hear noise outside. It was kind of local power utility digging up the street right in front of the house. Yeah, that one worked out okay because we already had the shots. But oh man,
that was really fun. I had a really dumb moment the other day. So the power engineer guy came out shooting this new construction. The power engineer guy comes through to check the meter. I guess something's going wrong with, I don't know anything about electricity, an inverter or something. And he's parked right in front of the house, and this big picture windows all in the front of this house. And I've got my shot all set up, and he pulls right in there. And so I go out there all sweet. Sir, do you mind moving just for a few minutes? I've got this shot. And he's like, oh, I'll just come back tomorrow. No worries. This is my first shot of the whole shoot, right? It's like, oh, I'll just come back. No worries. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I go back inside, go to turn on my lights, and the power is off throughout the whole place. Yeah. And the guy that I just sent away was coming to turn on the power, and this agent likes the lights on. So I was like, it was dumb luck in the opposite direction.
Well, no, then you had a good lights off shoot.
Exactly.
I liked it.
It'll force their hand. Well, you have an excuse to deliver the work that you want to deliver a little bit more, and the agent can't say anything about it. Cool. So Cheyenne, did Rich and Dan both said they kind of learned with the Flickr group, and I kind of got into this industry towards the end of the Flickr group. Maybe I had like a year or two crossover where like Flickr was kind of fading out, Facebook groups were kind of coming in, and I learned most of my stuff through the old PFRE blog. The PFRE blog, Rich's videos, and there was an ebook that he used to sell on the old PFRE. I don't know if you guys remember this. It was an Infuse ebook, and when I started, I bought that ebook and I started doing Infuse because I didn't have to really bring I just wanted quick, easy in and out. And if I can just do Infuse, which is how I basically started my real estate photography career, was using Infuse. So that's kind of how I learned, using that little Infuse ebook, which I still have on my iPad today. But did you also, Cheyenne, did you learn online, whether it's courses, YouTube, or is it all just through your mother-in-law and she kind of showed you the ropes?
Well, sadly, I did start with Infuse, and I look back at those pictures with regret.
Don't say sadly. Some of those, some of the work, I use Infuse for all my commercial real estate, and
Really?
yeah, for all of the commercial. Well, look, if I'm shooting a 30,000 square foot huge facility, like Flash is not doing anything for me, and I run it through Infuse, and if you know how to tweak a properly infused shot, they're not half bad. And remember, this is real estate. This is not. I'm not trying to degrade what we're doing, but we're not producing artwork that's selling for $40,000. We're sending out images that have a shelf life of a month or two. So I still to today use Infuse for all my commercial real estate stuff. And even like tomorrow, I have to go out and reshoot a basement I shot a year ago. They redid the basement. I'm just taking my camera and a crappy tripod. I'm going to bracket 3 shots and run it through Infuse. Just in and out in 5 minutes. That's it. Done.
Do you find much difference between that and the Lightroom HDR tool?
I like it better. I think Infuse, out of all the HDR options, including obviously Photomatics, which isn't really an option, I think Infuse gives you the most natural results. Now, straight out of Infuse, as I'm sure you all know, you get these really flat, dull-looking images. But I have a preset. I pop it on. It boosts the contrast and saturation, and I think for an HDR option, Infuse gives the best results. That's my opinion. If you're going to go that route.
I didn't even think
Cheyenne,
about commercial buildings. What was that, Rich?
when you said Lightroom, I haven't really spent a lot of time with the new Lightroom HDR, but the times I've done it, it just doesn't, I don't get it. I don't get some things in Lightroom anyway. But the HDR, I just never understood recently how it works or why I'm not getting anything even remotely usable.
Well, I only ask that. I only occasionally process HDR photos in Lightroom. Full transparency, everything I shoot these days goes to an editor. I hate to edit. I hate to sit at a computer. I detest it. I want to dump all my files at the end of the day and be done. Take about an hour on my computer and just go. So whether I shoot Flambient or HDR, they're handling it in the Philippines, and I'll happily pay for that service. But to circle back to your question, Brian, I learned a lot on the Facebook groups. I did learn some from my mother-in-law, but I quickly realized that I wanted to shoot higher end stuff. So she shoots Flambient and smaller residential bread and butter type projects. And I always had my eye on the luxury game. And of course, I looked up to people like Scott Hargis and Devin Pastorius. There's some amazing Fraser. I really love his work. I always wanted that high end look. So I've always used people in the groups as inspiration. And then YouTube is a great resource. And then direct mentorship, really. Most of the time, the good thing about the groups is that we have access to so many knowledgeable people just with a DM that they're happy to answer you. But if I'm like, how do I shoot like you're shooting? They'll be kind enough to message me back and give me some insight. So it's been taking bits and pieces. And then shameless plug, I did take Wayne, Tony, and Fraser's workshop in Vegas last year, and it changed everything for me. Like, it was a whole mindset shift in how I shoot, how I compose, how I lit things, whether I lit it at all. And I think that one-on-one mentorship really helped me a lot.
Cool. Before we move on, we're going to stop for a quick word from our other friends at iGuide. So just bear with us for a moment.
Are you looking to expand your real estate photography business? Stand out from the crowd by offering 3D tours, accurate room measurements, square footage calculations, and professionally drafted floor plans, all from the click of a button with the state-of-the-art iGuide camera system. Get your first 5 standard iGuides up to 3,000 square feet free by adding the code Shooting Spaces in the referral section at camera purchase. Visit goiguide.com to learn more.
We were just talking about HDR, and at one time or another, most of us did it. We with different results. But there was always one guy in the Flickr group that was the best. And he was going to do a course, but he never got to it. I think he actually got sick with cancer. But do you remember who I'm talking about, Dan?
I don't.
He did the best work, and it was supposedly HDR. And I could never figure out, how do you get what he gets?
Oh,
Colin Cadle.
Yes.
Remember Colin Cadle?
Yeah, I remember. He kept saying he was going to do that course. We kept badgering him about it, and
couldn't wait for the course.
I mean, hell, I think half the people who were in those discussions were telling him there's no way it was HDR, and we wanted to know what the secret sauce was. As we're sitting around hauling our lights.
We were all just trying to figure it out and find out, and Cheyenne, what you had mentioned, about people being kind enough to share. It's like when I learned to play harmonica, well-to-do young Jewish boy going out to the bad side of town trying to learn how to be a blues harmonica player in a room. Well, let's just say not everybody was my color, but I couldn't nobody would tell me how to do it. Nobody would show me. Nobody was happy. I started doing my videos, and I got a lot of pushback from a few people that were like, you're ruining it. You're giving it away. You are blowing it. And my wife said a few times, you're teaching your competition to take your job. And absolutely, I lost a lot of clients to eventually because I'm just a terrible person and a bad photographer. But I taught so many people to do what I do. But you know what? I don't care. It did me well, and it made me happy, and that's what it's all about. It's kind of like our podcast. We don't do it for the money.
What was it that we used to say?
Right.
There's no secret sauce. So a camera is a camera. They all do the same things, and techniques here and there, software tips here and there. Where the hell is this switch? why can't I see anything in Lightroom anymore? But outside of those things, there is no secret sauce. You look at a room, and it's up to you to figure out what about it is going to sell, and then figure out how to highlight that. And whether you do it using, unicorn poop, clown vomit, whatever you want to call it for bad HDR. Yeah, I remember when I first heard those.
I've never heard unicorn poop. That's a new one.
I've never heard unicorn poop either.
I've heard clown vomit's a classic, but unicorn poop.
Yeah.
Unicorns.
I'll use it in the future.
They shit rainbows. What can I tell you? But it's not magic. That's my point. And so, Rich, you were saying, I was always happy to help. I'm happy to help anyone. I'll tell people flat out, the day you think you're the best in this business, just retire, because now your ego's in the way. Someone else is going to have your clients for lunch tomorrow.
Or the word master. I want to master it. I've always said I will never master any part of this. I don't think Ansel Adams mastered it, or would have said he mastered it.
I bet you keep trying, though.
Keep trying. Oh, fuck, every day. Yeah. Shit, I want to get better. Better and faster, if I can. But one thing I used to say, it's my tagline, tips and tricks. I had a few photographers get really down going, that's crap. There's no tips and tricks. It's not about tips and tricks. I'm like, you know what? It is a lot about tips and tricks, getting information and how to make something work. And that's what it was all about to me. It was like a Wild West. There was not a certain way of doing it. I tried doing Scott Hargis's method, and I found I wasn't good enough and fast enough to do it. And then I was able to morph it into the flambient. And it worked for me, and it still works. But there was a lot of tips and tricks, and I don't care what anybody says.
Rich, I'm curious. Do you have any of the flambient domains?
No, and
I see him typing flambient.com. Let me see if that's available.
Actually, when the Part 107 came out, I bought a bunch of LA Drone Works, San Francisco Drone. I probably paid $200 a year on domains, and I never sold one of them. I thought, I'm going to make some money doing this. No, I never did. And the flambient, I still think it was Carol Embry, I think, coined the word flambient. We had talked. We used to be friends. I mean, it was a great thing about the business too. I spent so much time virtually with people, learning and sharing, and excited about this business. And and another thing, there's so many parts to this. I just get so excited about the old days. But when you said, "What are we selling? What are we doing here?" That strictly came from Scott Hargis when he did his course, his workshop. What are we selling here? We don't need to show the whole refrigerator because we know the other half is there. We don't have to show the whole sofa because the other one's there. We're not selling. I'm still using this line till today, and people love it. We're not selling. Hey, we're not selling the table, the flower vase. We're selling the wall behind it. And those kind of things. One thing I learned is just sound like you know what you're talking about, and people just going to eat it up and really believe in you. And they're going to go, I don't know, I'm hiring Rich, but he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
It's funny you say it that way. The line that I've been using, and this is really for luxury property, is when a client asks me to shoot, the accessory apartment in the fourth outbuilding on the property. I'm rolling my eyes at that one because that actually happened to me. We're trying to tell a story that's consistent in fit, finish, and luxury. And anything that doesn't fit that narrative should not be in there. If we show anything, if we even give our clients things that aren't quite up to snuff for the rest of the house, whether it's a hoarder house or, I don't know, in 2020 and 2021, we shot a property called Copper Beach, just sold. It was in Greenwich, Connecticut, sold for 138.8 million. They had to shoot some rooms in there that made my stomach turn, because here's this 50 or 48 acre, whatever it is, subdividable waterfront property, gorgeous mansion. And we're shooting this box with a bed in it and no view. And that's when I busted out the line. I didn't get anywhere with it. Fortunately, the agent agreed with us, but oh man, how many times do you guys walk into houses and just say, oh, yeah, we shouldn't be shooting this room. We should be shooting this other stuff. I don't know. That's taking it all the way back to the beginning. That's what was then. It's the same now. There's really no different.
Well, I will sometimes, though, it's a questionable room. And when an agent, you start going back and forth about a stupid room or a closet or something, I'll just go, listen, let me just shoot it, and you can use it if you want. It's information. It's easy to do, but I don't have time to go, should we shoot this? What are the valid points of shooting? And it's like, I'm just.
Yeah, it's more of a, at the beginning of the shoot, to sort of set the tone so you don't end up shooting half a dozen of those rooms. But Cheyenne, you're nodding your head. There's got to be a story behind here and something recent. Take it. I got to know.
I accommodate all ranges, and I accommodate different personalities, because I have agents that would love 100 photos on 3,000 square foot. And I have agents that'll take 15 on 20,000. And there's a whole range. I have different phrases for everybody. I find myself often saying like, no, I don't think that's necessary, or you can just leave that out. I don't know. I don't have any go-to phrases, so I need to take a page out of your book, Dan, because I like that. It doesn't fit fit, finish.
We're trying to tell a story that's consistent in fit, finish, and luxury.
That's something I will say again at the beginning. I used to just say thank you to Scott Hargis all the time. He never said thank you to me for saying thank you to him. But anyway, I learned so much, and that's what I learned the most. And that what I really put into a lot of my success, whatever success I have. It's learning how to speak to agents, learning what are we doing here? What the frick are we doing here? What are we selling? And a way of doing it. That's one thing I learned in being in the business movie industry for so long. I had a lot of confidence about artistic things and composition and staging and fluffing pillows, this and that. But it really, when agents at the beginning, when they saw me arranging pillows, what the hell is he doing? And then they started latching on, going to the owner of the house, watch what he does. He moves pillows.
That's what I do now a lot. I go straight in, and I go to like busybody. I'm like, do you mind if I walk through? I'm going to walk through. And then I go to fluffing pillows and opening blinds and turning on lights if they're on or if they're off. And I show them, instead of having to tell them, you need to do this, when I'm actually getting into shooting it. I'm going to go through and I'm going to fix what I can. I know a lot of photographers are like, I'm not going to touch anything. And I try to make that a policy with blinds, because I've pulled down too many sets of blinds in my short career. I know better. However, I just go to work. I just show them like I am there to make them look the best that I can and make the images look the best that I can. And I've even gotten to the point, like, I don't mind moving little stuff. Like, I charge at a point now that I'm happy to take the time crafting each image. And even now I'm gravitating towards enjoying working with agents that give a damn. Like, they love their set, like San Pellegrino staging and taking all their flowers from room to room, but it makes a difference and they know it. And the ones that are actually good salespeople know how the images are going to sell it. And those are the people I like working with the best.
I'd hire you, Cheyenne. I would absolutely. I want to have you shoot for me. Let me ask you, Cheyenne, though, since we've been talking about the old days and we've been talking about a lot of pertinent, a lot of good information in this podcast. But let me ask you, Cheyenne, and you know, not that I want you to give away your webinar or your speaking engagement at PMRE, but where do you see this going? And dare I say the two letters AI, but where do you see this going in the next couple of years? You know,
Mm.
what is your feeling on that?
So I can talk about that. Although I'm just enjoying sitting back listening to the good old days because secretly I pine for it, even though it's non-existent nostalgia for me because I don't have it. But I love it. I feel like I missed an era. The Flickr era sounds amazing. But for the future era, I am concerned about only photography. And in that, I mean, I'm concerned about commoditized photography. I think there will be a part of real estate photography that will continue to get cheaper and more commoditized, even potentially to the point that agents can buy their own Matterport machine and have it make them generic photos and generic videos that are comparable to what used to be market standard HDR. But I think
That's there already. That's there now.
exactly. I think you give it more time and more iterations. I mean, I just did the 3D like whole floor plan for Cubicasa, and they have a video offering too, and it is insanely accurate. Like it's beautiful. It looks animated. Like I think it's a little ways away from being a deliverable product, but I think if the market stays the way it is, photography is fading away in terms of just point, shoot, 3 brackets, send to an editor, deliver. I think that's going to get cheaper until it gets phased out, or just so commoditized by big box companies. But I think there is a space for editorial photographers. I think there is a subsection of realtor clients that are willing to pay for what I call vignettes. I have agents that call them the architectural digest photos, even though we're shooting a $350,000 ranch. It's architectural digest, the tight vertical shots. I think there's still room for photographers that are willing to go the extra mile and create more intentional images instead of corner to corner shooting. And then I think it's all going to video. I think it's all going to video. Video is the huge push right now among agents, personal branding. And as much as we would like to say that real estate photos are part of their personal brand, if everybody can provide pretty decent HDR, it has nothing to do with their brand. So I think we're going to see this space gravitate a lot more into not just real estate video, but also, I mean, it's already in the real estate video space. Now it's pushing the bar on that. And then I also think that we're going to see a lot more personal branding, lifestyle, integration of headshots and creative social media content that has the agent in it is what I think the market demand is right now and for the next 5 years.
You think 5 years
or less?
Yeah, I'm like it could be 2 years, and what's the next best big thing hasn't been invented yet, but it will be the next big thing in 3 to 5 years. It's just I'm kind of glad I'm not young and just getting started with this, because I don't know if I have the creativity to and mindset to flow like you're doing, Cheyenne. I think that you have exactly what it takes, because you're at the right age, you're at the right time, and you have the right ideas, and you have so many things going for you. So I think that, and I really agree with you 100%, where the standard HDR, all those editors are going to be looking for new work or something, because I think it's going to be limited, because it just can't keep going at that rate.
They'll probably move a lot over to video editing, because that is a super, super hot market right now. I mean, there are startups selling in the tens of millions that are literally just video editing companies. Of you send your content, they edit it and send it back to you, because everybody is feeling the squeeze of having to be on social media, and that being one of the only ways to get leads for realtors right now.
There's a risk in that. In sending your stuff out to another company and just having, I don't know, someone you don't know, someone you don't work with regularly, actually do any kind of your work. We've been talking about real estate photography sort of disappearing into just an automated process for more than a decade. I mean, when I first got into it, there was really nothing automated. But as soon as HDR was easy, and as soon as you could just start sending your stuff out to groups of editors, that's where it started to get tricky. And so if you get complacent, and Cheyenne, this is what I'm hearing from you. So you talk about the good old days, you're living them. It hasn't changed. The whole idea that you can take something and say, all right, this isn't going to work next year, because next year, just sending stuff out to a sweatshop somewhere, I'm going to get back the same crap that everybody else is using. You're sending out all of your editing. Do you use a specific company, or is it a single editor?
An individual team that's well known in the groups.
Okay. I was doing all of my own.
Might watch this.
Well, let's see. I'll spill the beans. I was doing all of my own editing, and I found a style that I really liked, but it was killing me. I had no life. I still have no life. I had no time for myself, no time for my family. It turns out I have kids. I missed that part, but yeah. But I said, that's it. I can't keep getting 4 hours of sleep every night. So I stumbled across PhotoUp, and they had it was a team model where a group of editors would learn your style. The problem with the model is that there's so much turnover on their side, and our business is so cyclical that you can't really keep the same team. And I was really afraid that my work was going to start looking like everybody else's work. I kept rejecting photos and sending them back for revisions, and it was taking more time than I was saving. And I was ready to walk away.
We heard about that when Rich and I got off a call with PhotoUp. They were like, that Dan Milstein gave us a run for their money.
Yeah, I did. And part of the problem was I was working with clients who were very, very demanding, and they were demanding in the same way that I was. I was just losing the ability to actually service them the way I had been and the way I wanted to. And they said, well, what about working with one editor, a full-time editor? I thought, okay, the cost was comparable. If you're doing any high-end work and you're not paying someone, pennies to do the photos, it's about the same. And they set me up, and I haven't looked back. My editor, Jean, she actually works for PhotoUp. I pay the company. She gets a nice bonus from me every month, and she earns every cent. And I tell clients, I'm not doing the editing. I'm doing the adjusting. I have all the, the final stuff, because there are some tweaks that are just sort of in my head. But she is better than I ever was at my own style, and she's faster at it. So she's working a day shift in the Philippines, and I wake up and I've got all these files that are ready for just some final tweaking and sending out, and it's fantastic. But that doesn't make the business. That just gives me time to do some of the things, Cheyenne, that you were talking about. So I started doing drone stuff, and through the drone stuff, I said, oh, well, video. I mean, it's easy with the drone, right? I wasn't editing because I can't really. I know what I want in my head, but it just doesn't work. So I work with an editor. One editor, always the same person. And yes, he takes vacations, as does my photo editor, Gene. But so I went from there, and I started ground video. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I played around with Matterport before it went live, and then for a little while, but that became an absolute commodity. Again, Cheyenne, you are living in the good old days.
When is this, Dan, time frame wise? Like, when did you start adding these other services?
Well, I mean, the drone stuff was 11 years ago, maybe almost 12 now. It's almost right after we started with, maybe 2 years after we started with the helicopter work. But we're looking at other people's photos, looking at, I hate to say it, Architectural Digest, because why not? It seemed like a good idea. But we were looking at the most expensive properties we could find online to see what they had. And I remember there's a company in this area, Homestead. They were bought out, but they were one of the first companies using drones. And I said, all right, we got to do that. When I saw Matterport, when they launched, I was like, okay, now I'm out because everyone started doing it. HDR. If you're turning out HDR, Cheyenne, I agree with you 100%. If everyone is doing that, what sets you apart? Why are your clients going to license your images and your video instead of somebody else's who's going to do it for less? Because there's always someone who's going to do it for less. So I still, I may have for a kitchen shot, oh God, yesterday or the day before, at a kitchen, one photo, it was like 18 different layers.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad I'm not editing that. I mean, just calling the set and sending it to Jean. But the cool thing is she's so up here that I don't give her any instructions unless there's something different that I want that's not my usual style. But that kind of thing gives me the time to say, all right, what's coming next? What can I do with the video that's going to work? I shoot full video with, are you using a RS2, RS3?
I'm using the RS2 Pro combo.
Yep.
So it's got the follow focus and the Raven eye.
Yep. It's a fantastic thing. So I use that, but then for the social media videos, I switched to the RS3 Pro, and I said, I wanted I have a backup for everything. It's just, you can't shoot, 10, 20, $30 million properties and say, oops, my gimbal isn't working. I'll be back. I'm sorry. It took us a month to schedule this. So, but I actually took a phone and stuck it on the RS2. You could do it with a tiny gimbal.
They're so good. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm really afraid of the iPhone 15. So I have a pretty badass vertical rig that I built just with an iPhone. It has a whole, if I had it here, I would show you right now. But it looks like a cinema rig. It has a nice big lens on it, and it looks a lot different than straight out of camera iPhone, but it pulls windows better than my mirrorless, even after a grade. I mean, maybe if I was shooting with a red, I would feel differently, but I'm not. Like, the iPhone is ridiculously good. I shoot all my vertical content on iPhone because that's where people are viewing it. But the iPhone camera is perfect for real estate. It's different, I guess, if you're doing weddings, you really need that cinematic look, but the iPhone has very good dynamic range.
Are you using a beast cage?
I am. Beast cage. I have the two Kenko lenses, the wide angle and the 50 millimeter equivalent. And then I just got the macro lens, which I'm not really sure how to use yet, but it's cool. And then I have that all mounted on a RS3 Mini.
Yep. That's a killer rig. So
you're going to be getting a call from me, Cheyenne.
I will share. I'm going to put a whole kit together as my little take-home gift for everybody at PMRE, so you can copy my rig, because I haven't seen anybody else with it.
Awesome.
I'm not going to say anything. There is one thing that I added a while back, and I did this for my own convenience. And then I realized, wait, this is actually really good for clients. Now we do it mostly for drone stuff. I bought at the time, it was a really expensive video transmitter, but it was HD to a monitor with a receiver on it. And so I didn't have to have my clients attached to me. And I guess it was last summer, the DJI transmission combo came out, same system that they're using on the Ronin 4D, whatever it's called. And I said, oh man, all right, here goes a bunch of money out of my account. I have to experiment with this. And it's got the same range. What is it? 1080-60. It's got the same range that you get on the Mavic 3. So line of sight, was it 4.7 kilometers or something like that? So I rigged using a little binocular adapter and just a little belt clip, something so I could put it on my belt for the drone stuff and still put it on the bottom of the gimbal. So it goes right underneath. It goes where the Raven eye goes. But it's fantastic because you can put the Ronin handles on it and you can have somebody else pull focus. You can get a second set of eyes. And I do work with someone. It's fantastic. But if you want to impress your clients, just set the damn thing on a tripod and let them just watch whatever you're doing.
That's a cool idea.
And it costs a few bucks, but you can also you can get what's the brand? Hollyland. You can get one of their transmitters and receivers and stick it on, a cheap little monitor. Or Small HD has systems that'll work. You don't have to go with the DJI system, but to be able to add those little things that we couldn't do, Rich, when we started, could you imagine just doing any of this? So Cheyenne, I'm going to say it again. You're still living in the good old days. We're always going to be innovating. We're always going to be looking for that next thing.
It's exhausting, especially. So I'm putting out so much video content. It's ridiculous. Like I'm shooting 2 or 3 videos a day and then delivering, 3 reels at a time a lot of the time lately. It's ridiculous. And I just brought on my second video editor. Both my video editors are amazing. Like they're a godsend. I love them so much. They are a big key to my success this year. And they've bought back so much of my time. It goes from you being like, I have to have control of this thing because nobody's going to do it as good as me. And then you'll be pleasantly surprised when you actually outsource it to somebody that they can probably do it a lot better than you because it's their main focus and you're able to kind of put your focus back on the thing that matters, but I'm focused. But what you said about the monitor, the external monitor too, I think that is a big gap with the commodity versus the service aspect of things.
Yeah.
Like getting the clients involved in the process and making them see the value that there is in our expertise instead of just hiring, college kid that's getting paid $15-20 an hour to point and shoot.
When your clients introduce you to the homeowner and say, this is Cheyenne, you're going to love what she does, or she does something that nobody else does. And maybe they don't hire you for every shoot, but they're bringing you in for that shoot. They're going to license your stuff for that shoot because you're doing something special. So when you start getting those introductions, you're on the sort of the right, you're going in the right direction on whatever new toys you're buying.
Oh man, it really shook me up recently. So my team had the honor of doing the full package on the most expensive listing in Georgia's history. Last month, I think it was. This summer has gone by really fast. And that was a huge deal for us, of course. And when I had a client introduce me to their client, because it's still on the market, and it was in the news and everything like that, and they were like, this girl shot that property. I was like, oh my God, did you ever have anybody introduce you like that when you shot the beach property you were talking about? And you're like, I just won my rate.
It's not just that one. So the agents know when they need to name drop. And so my regular clients will ask me, all right, wait, what celebrities do you have on the list now? So I mean, we go back in time years ago, maybe 9-10 years ago, shot Ron Howard's place. And I actually hadn't met him. I met Cheryl, but I didn't meet him. I bumped into him when I was doing B-roll for somebody, just some drone work it was a swim meet. And they were just doing, anyway. So yeah, Ron Howard, Bruce Willis, Diana Ross, she's not selling her house, but yeah, that's actually funny when you get a phone call and yeah. Do you really pick up when it says unknown number? I did. Hi, Daniel. This is Diana Ross. What? I didn't actually say that out loud. I pretended like it was nothing. But my clients will actually introduce me. It's like, oh, this is Dan Milstein. He shot Bruce Willis's house. Or Stanley Jaffe, if you like Kramer versus Kramer Sophie's Choice. That was for you, Rich. Stanley's full of himself, by the way. Just going to say that.
People in the movie industry full of themselves? No way.
Ron Howard isn't.
Oh, of course.
Oh God.
How was Diana Ross though? I bet she was great. Was she completely out of touch? Not that anybody in the movie industry is out of touch.
No comment.
Really, yeah, she's really nice. I never went inside the house. We were actually the 2 conversations we had. We weren't even talking about photography, but I know how she likes her stage lighting, and what airline she flies. It's just that little stuff that just sort of sticks with me. But when it comes to the clients, back to them. Yeah, being introduced as the person who did that or shot for this person. That actually gets you additional business.
And it gives confidence to the homeowners that they made the right decision hiring the agent who uses these service vendors who also service. I have a client that does that too, and they'll name drop all the fashion brands I shoot for. And I'm like, this is not even related to real estate industry, but they just want to name drop all these brands that I shoot for.
It works.
So what we're talking about right now, this, I believe, is a big part of the future of what we do as media creators, is us in ourselves being personalities, not necessarily in that you need to be big on a social media platform and say like have all this celebrity, but more so having a presence and something that you're notorious for, and having that value that makes only you. I think those are the photographers that are going to continue to do well, the ones that care about building a reputation for themselves, differentiating themselves, having these little sound bites that their realtors can use to advertise them, because that's what realtors really need us for beyond just the marketing. It's helping them look good and helping sell them. So if they're able to easily prove your worth in one or two sentences, like, oh, he shot Bruce Willis's house, like that's proof right there to their clients that they're worth their salt. And that's a value add that we can bring to them.
So you are the brand.
Yes.
Yeah, so as I say, we're built just like the agents are doing. We're also building personal brands for ourselves, even if we're going under a company name. But whatever your company name is, you're still also Dan Milstein, and you're the owner of the company. And this is who you shoot for. You shoot for Ron Howard and Diana Ross, and those type of caliber clients, and Bruce Willis.
Oh, he scared the crap out of me. By the way, all he did was shake my hand and say hello the first time. That scared me. So
he's a scary guy.
Yeah. When he came out and he saw the drone stuff and he said, oh, he's flying an Inspire 2, and he looked at it and he looked at the remote monitor, and this is just, it sticks with me as bizarre. He said, wow, that's cool. Like, hasn't this man been on movie sets that had all the toys?
He was in Die Hard. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But man, when he shook my hand and gave me that look that he used to get in movies right before his character killed somebody, yeah, that kind of shook me. Is what it is. But it's fun.
Hey, look. Anyway, before we wrap, Dan, you were so kind as to tell us all about Photo Up. So let's go back into a little read from Photo Up.
Let's face it, editing sucks. It sucks time, it sucks money, and it sucks resources away from your business and your family. That's why Photo Up has changed the game. Photo Up allows you to work one-on-one with an experienced editor that is 100% dedicated to you and your business. Photographers with a Photo Up dedicated editor say their edits are good or amazing 98.6% of the time. They're able to deliver images to their clients faster, and they get editing as low as 50 cents per image.
Really? As low as 50 cents an image?
You heard that right. Editing as low as 50 cents per image. Ready to find your dedicated editor? Sign up for a free Photo Up account at photoup.net and send trial images to 3 different dedicated editors. That's right. Try 3 different editors absolutely free.
3 for free. I like that.
So today, when you're all done shooting spaces, head over to photoup.net and hit the sign up button or click the Photo Up logo on the Shooting Spaces website.
And don't forget to tell them Rich and Brian sent you.
All right. Well, thanks for that read from Photo Up. And you can go in and ask for Jean. Dan highly recommends Jean from Photo Up. So
sorry, she's got a full-time gig.
Cool. So as we're running low on time, I just have one last question I want to ask you, Cheyenne, because you kind of brought it up at the beginning, but we didn't really get into it. And, you're the youngin' here. So you're not doing other stuff also, which helps evolve the agent's personal brand, lifestyle shots and headshots and all that stuff. And I know, myself, Rich, and Dan, we all started with just photography, and then we started adding other services. And now you're going, you do all those services that we're pretty much all doing now. But now you're going even one step further, which I know, and I feel in the future, I mean, it's going to be necessary for us too. And Dan, you're probably going to be doing it in a couple of years, even though you may or may not want to. But adding these type of lifestyle shots. So how do you incorporate that and sell that to your agents? And tell us a little bit about that.
It is easier than you think, because say you have a listing agent that already has a nice staged listing, just bring in a softbox and shoot them in the space that they want to be associated with. The big move in real estate right now is that you've got to be showing your face on all of these different social platforms, whether it's photos or videos. And then for websites, branding, like print collateral and stuff like that, they need nice photos of them. And then for social media, it's nice to constantly have a post to push out. So I think the first thing is, next time one of your favorite agents has a nice listing, tell them to get dressed nice, and you're going to practice some branding photography on them. I use a nifty 50 for practically everything. Sometimes I'll run an 85 if I feel like a longer focal length, but you can shoot amazing branding portraits with an Octabox and a nifty 50 for whatever brand camera that you have. Really, the strength is in bringing out their personality on camera, willing to get silly with them, willing to have that discomfort. I think it's so important now to be able to take part in their brand building, because this is another aspect of making yourself indispensable, so that they don't have to try out this portrait photographer that might become interested in real estate photography in 6 months, or just so you can keep everything cohesive style wise too, because my real estate photos have some editing characteristics in common with my branding photos. So it's a really nice aesthetic, and that they've got a consistent palette across all their platforms, right? I think offering that all in-house is going to bring a lot more value to your agents. So I'm a big fan of it.
Cool. Cheyenne, what do you do when you get a client that maybe isn't the best, how do I say this?
I love the uggos.
Looking and has no personality, and they look at the photos and they kind of associate the photographer with why they don't like the photos, but they're not.
That
really
is
getting
tough. That is very tough.
It's become so uncomfortable with me, and I shot portraits for years. I shoot weddings, but this is just something else. And what do you do? What do you do if you're like, oh boy?
This is something I'm actually really passionate about, because I work with a lot of older women, a lot of older female realtors, and women, men
Shoot
too,
from up
but
high.
women more. Yes, you shoot down the 45. You've got to be strategic with your light. You can't have too much sun, but you've got to have a nice, soft, diffuse light. There's a lot of posing techniques that help.
Yeah.
I work a lot of the time. This area is what older women, they don't like the turkey neck. But for me as a woman, I think it's easier when women have a female photographer behind the camera, because I talk about all that stuff openly with them. Like, I make it lighthearted. I'm very silly in my branding shoots. Like, I sing to them. It's hilarious. But like last year, for example, I did 100 different lifestyle shoots for one brokerage for 100 different agents. So I got really good at this communication process, but I think it's 95% your bedside manner, which you can improve a lot of different ways. One of the things that I picked up, actually, because I bought this expensive cam ranger and I wasn't using it on a lot of my real estate shoots because I was just running and gunning. But I thought one day, what if I tether my cam ranger for portraits and then have an iPad for review? So what I learned throughout this is not only that helps them look and critique themselves, the important thing I want to preface is that do not show somebody a picture of themselves until you're sure it's one that they're going to at least like. that you feel like it's the best representation of what you can do. Take the time to get them loosened up. Take the time to find the good light. Don't show them the first frames out of camera. Don't show them fake smiles. Make sure that the first one that you show sets that foundation of, you can trust me. I'm going to do my best to make you look good. I'm going to do my best not just to make you look good, but to make you look likable. And then I'm talking to them the whole time, like telling them, this is why I'm doing this. This is the psychology behind why I'm posing you this way. I could talk on and on about this stuff. But I think the biggest thing is just being willing to look it in the face that somebody maybe doesn't like the way that they look, or they feel really uncomfortable on camera, and love on them a little bit, empathize with them a little bit, let them give you feedback on what they don't like, and then try to adjust what you're doing to accentuate their good side, stretch out the turkey neck, like accentuate the jawline, lift up the arms so we don't have a little arm fat right here. Like all those good little details that they don't see in this beautiful image that they look amazing. They see this tiny little bit of fat right here. They see this little double chin right here. That's what they're drawn to immediately. So when you think, oh, that's a good image, really empathize with them of like, they can only see their imperfections. Did I dance around the question?
You're right on, right on. Got a lot of really good, really great points there, Cheyenne.
Okay.
Cool. And with that, we'll end with that. And I want to thank you both. I guess I'm not going to be at the full conference, but I will be in Vegas for one of the workshops. So I'll see you both there. Dan, when are you coming in? You going to the workshop or no?
No, but I'll be there the night before.
All right, cool. So I will see. Maybe I'll see. I'm going to give you a call when I go to Stanford in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll meet up.
Right. Cool.
So thank you for coming on, Dan. Thank you for coming on, Cheyenne, and Rich. As always, it's a pleasure.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us here.
Cool. And Rich, we only have 3 more episodes left, so we're winding down to the end over here.
And as usual, I'll get a text tonight or tomorrow. Okay, what are we doing next? And it's we'll come up with something really good.
Well, we have a couple good ideas for the last few episodes. So
yeah,
as we wind down our Shooting Spaces career.
5 years. 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. Well, February is going to be 6, almost 6. But when we finish in December, it'll be just shy of 6 years.
Well, you guys are old.
Yeah.
You don't even know. Anyway. Well, great. No, what a pleasure to spend the time with Dan and Cheyenne. Cheyenne, I'm so excited for you because we're old, but you're young and you're just moving up, and everything you're saying, it's right on. So I'm sure you'll have a very bright career. And
everything I learned is from you OGs and just trying to adapt it to my little.
We're OGs.
OGs. Wow.
Original.
All right. Fine. It's your turn.
Good. And again, it's a wonderful business, and it's created a great lifestyle for me. I've enjoyed it so much. And I've met so many wonderful people, and it's been great. Besides meeting people like Dan Milstein and Brian Berkowitz and Cheyenne, but just meeting great clients and stuff, and just get better at what you do, and try and really understand. What are we doing? What are we selling? Why are we shooting what we're shooting? And that's really the bottom line, And when you said, Cheyenne, that it is really, once, we're all trying to articulate to, now HDR is getting pretty good when you get these overseas editors, that it's actually really good, but it all looks like the same stuff to me. I can tell it's HDR, but I don't really have a great answer other than, well, there's no light or no shadows, but the difference is now I have a really good idea of what to teach or to say to people. Are you sure? Because you're doing the same thing. Your pictures they're good, but they just look the same as everybody else's pictures. So thank you very much for that. Really great thing to think about. And Brian, thank you very much. Anything you want to say?
No, close it out, Rich.
Okay, well, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Check it out on YouTube too. You can see it or hear it, or you can hear it or also see it, because just to see Dan Milstein and Cheyenne Crawford is worth the time and the mission. But I just want to say thank you so much, and until next time, go shoot some space.